depression was the best thing that happened to me. Sounds a bit ridiculous, right? Well, that's the case, and in this video I'm going to be talking to you guys about my experiences of depression in the past, how I managed to get over depression, and sort of the stigma that surrounds depression as well. Because for me now, after having gone through depression, it's actually been one of the best learning experiences of my life. This video is going to be a bit of a different one for the channel in a sense, because I'm not going to edit this one. I want you to see what it's like. I want you to see my gut feelings and reactions to the things I'm going to tell you about. There's this negativity in the world when it comes to depression, in the media especially. People don't seem to understand what depression is. People seem to think that people can just get better, or that depression is this either temporary thing or it's like a medical illness or medical condition, which in my mind that's not really what I see depression as. So a lot of people have this unfortunate misconception that as soon as they have been either diagnosed by their doctor with depression, or they feel like they are depressed themselves, this is something that they can never overcome, that they are depressed, that they have become depressed rather than being in a state of temporary depression. They think it's a permanent thing. Hopefully by the end of this video, if you're a person who's watching it thinking that same thing, then hopefully your pattern of thought might be adjusted somewhat to help you cope better with it. I'll go through with you guys my brief history and problems basically with depression in the past, because it's something that's really shaped me as a person and has changed my outlook on life, on success, happiness, everything like that. So I think that I first felt like I started to become depressed in maybe year 10 or 11, so somewhere around the age of about 15, and it lasted until about the age of 20 to 21, so until about a couple of years ago. And I'm not sure exactly what caused it. This is the thing when it comes to depression. People think that it's just something that's caused by something and then it'll go, or it's initiated by something like the death of a relative or something and they'll never get over it. That's not always the case, but mine was more of an accumulation of lots of different factors. So I wasn't happy when I moved to college, which made me feel a lot worse about myself. I wasn't happy with the people that I was around. They weren't anything like me. They didn't have much in common. I felt like I didn't have many friends during those years. Other stuff like social pressures. I felt like I wasn't succeeding at the time talking to women, or struggling to get the attention from the women that I wanted and all this. So the first few years it kind of went under the radar. I didn't really realise that I had depression. I was feeling really down and worthless in myself. I felt like I wasn't offering much to the world. I felt like I wasn't valued by many people, and that my presence sort of wasn't welcome, especially during those years at college. That's where it first began to develop for me. And then I went off to university, and it seemed to be alright for a little bit, and then ended up in a relationship with somebody, and then it had the craziest, horrible end to it, where the other person in question, unfortunately, I don't know whether they had depression or some sort of mental breakdown. I really don't know, but the person who I will refer to as Woman X in this one, Woman X went a bit off the rails and did a series of things deliberately to sort of make my life more difficult, or she just did them randomly and they still resulted in me feeling worse. I'm not so sure, but to cut things short, she did things with one of my friends that I wasn't happy about. You know what I'm talking about. Seeing her on regular nights out with other people right in front of my face, snogging them, it's just not the things you want to be seeing, and that kind of made me feel even more worthless, because I was actually the one who'd broken up with them because they'd been so bizarre with me recently, and it wasn't making me happy. She seemed to have no attention. She had attention from other people. Basically, it was this accumulation of me feeling not good enough for either her or society or whatever. I felt like that the whole time that I'd been in the relationship, that I was just worthless. And then all the stuff that she was doing, it just went psychopathic. She was assaulting me on nights out or two, and getting people to knock on my door and say that they were going to kill me and stuff, and it just got absolutely crazy. So I had to get the university involved, and maybe even I was considering the police, but in the end I decided not to take action because it wasn't worth it. But that was a real big change in my life, which just stimulated the creeping depression to just shoot up, and it overwhelmed me, to be honest. I didn't enjoy the course I was doing at university at the time either. I knew that it wasn't something that I wanted to do, and it just built up the paranoia. I was worried, what am I going to do after university? I spent all this money. I've invested time in this girl who's become a ruined mess. I've invested time in this degree, which I'm not going to use because I don't enjoy it. And it basically, it just, I don't know, drew me over the edge, and I was thinking, what's the point of me being here if what I'm doing on this earth isn't valuable to other people, whether that's women or girls, because I had very limited success up until that point, and then I thought I found something that valued me, and I obviously did not. And then I wasn't succeeding in terms of my job. I thought I had no prospects, basically. I thought I had no job prospects. I had basically no money. It felt like I didn't have that much support, really. It's something that's really hard to talk about, depression. And this is why you see the suicide rate so high in men. It's actually the leading killer in the UK of men between 20 and 34. More than any physical illness, more than any of them. Mental illness, for me, seems worse. Not wanting to live yourself rather than, not wanting to die. I think it's even worse, not wanting to be alive. So it was a real rocky road, and I had troubles, and I tried the typical methods that people recommend to you. So I tried the antidepressants, and it made a slight difference. I find that what the antidepressants do, rather than actually curing it, which I wish that you could take a tablet that just cures the depression. The tablets just neutralise you a bit. They stop the extremities, your extreme emotions, which you get when you're depressed, when you've got yourself into this train of thought for so long. You can't control your emotions. One day you feel suddenly happy, and then you feel dreadful the next day, and it just takes a little bit of the edge off. So obviously I would still recommend that as a first step, as a stepping stone to other stuff, but it's by no means a permanent solution, and you should not become reliant on them. Then I tried the therapy option with I actually chose to go with the hypnotherapist because I wasn't sleeping well either at the time, and I needed some advice to how to keep myself calm and how to control my emotions, because that's truly what depression actually is. It's not some sort of chemical imbalance necessarily. That's the effects, that's the symptoms, that's the result of depression, but that's not what depression is, which is, I saw a video recently by Joe Weller, must about a few months ago now, but he was going on about how it was just a chemical imbalance in his brain and how people should treat him normally and all that, but that's not necessarily the case in my eyes. That's more a misconception in my eyes more than anything, because what the actual depression bit is, it's your outlook on the things, and that results, because you're thinking negatively about the things, that results in all this stuff in your head coming about. It's perception. That's what it truly is, and that was my big stepping stone when I realised that depression wasn't this medical condition, that it wasn't something that was a permanent, it wasn't a terminal illness like people seem to view depression as. Sufferers of depression seem to think they're going to be stuck with it forever. As soon as I realised that it was a perception thing, when I was reading more about it, you've got to learn about depression if you've got it, because you need to find out what it is. I've done a couple of videos on it already on the channel as well, but I wanted to make this one as well, to show you my story really. And you've got to know about it so you can know how to attack it. It's just like knowing your enemy. If you know as much about your enemy as possible, you'll be able to overcome them. And that's the same with depression. And once I realised that depression was just this perception thing, then that changed my mindset, and I started gradually, the depression started to just edge off slightly again, because I was telling myself the techniques that I've already recommended to you guys on the channel before, if you've seen my videos before. every single thing that I was doing, I was having to twist around, because when you're depressed, you're wearing like goggles that make everything dark around you, that make everything that you see a negative experience, even when it's not, even when it's either a neutral or actually a happy event happening, you'll still see the dark side of it, basically. So I decided I would force myself to make a behavioural change in myself. So I thought to myself, every single time I see something and have a bad thought, I will immediately counter it with something. I'll improvise something that will be good about the situation that's there, or the thing that I'm looking at, the thing that I'm thinking negatively about. I'll force myself to make a positive thought in my mind about it, because that's the only way that I feel like you can really change your behaviour in the long run forcibly. You've got to really make an effort. You've got to make yourself do it again and again and again and again until it does become subconscious after a while. And I did it. And I gradually, it took, from my lowest point of depression to overcoming depression, probably I had 18 months, 2 years, I'd say, and then I'd probably experienced depression probably for about 4 years, I'd say, before that. And it had been really bad for probably about 2 years before that. So it's not a quick process. It's not this thing that you're going to suddenly be able to recover from, but it's one that you can recover from. And I actually learned so much from going through depression that it's more than I learned hell at university and school by miles, more than I learned at any of those places, I can tell you that much. You really find out who you are, and this is something that this generation of people are really struggling with. They don't know who they are in themselves. They're struggling to find a path in life, a route to go down, something that they're good at. They don't know these things because they've got the society and the parents putting pressure on them to go certain ways, and that's not what you have to do. And I don't think now, my opinions, thanks to the depression, have sort of shifted, and I will do what benefits me the most, what makes me feel good, what makes me feel like I want to be here on this earth. And I was more able to clearly see what I valued in my life, what was important to me, the things that made me feel happy, the things that made me feel like I wanted to be here more. And I finally managed to control my emotions, and that was through depression, because depression, you feel such a range of emotions. When you can finally see things that are able to change your emotions, then you can control your emotions for the future. You can analyse your own thoughts. What am I thinking at this time? How can I make myself feel better? How can I have people hurt me less? Get less affected by things that other people say. These social pressures, like on Facebook and all this, where people are posting tons of images, people are begging for likes and stuff. They feel like that's the only way they can verify their own existence at times. It's just mad. But that's two of the biggest things. I was able to really understand what made me happy, no matter what made me tick as a human being, and that it actually is worth me being here. And it was only because of depression that I've done that, because some of these other people I feel who are going to hit like some sort of rut later in life, because I'm pretty sure everyone goes through it at some stage. No one has the easy run in life these days, and I was able to understand it really early in my life, and I feel like that's made me go from a boy to a man. I may not look like it, I know I've got the most youthful face, but I think controlling your own emotions is one of those biggest steps, and to have true control, you're a man then in my eyes. That's one of the defining things, and I feel like that's what I've become as a result of the depression. And now I'm living a happy life with a wonderful girlfriend who I'm with, at the moment filming this video, hopefully for the future too. And I feel like that my direction in life is positive, and I feel like every day I'm making a positive difference to the world around me and also to myself. And I owe a lot of that, which I thought at the time, I'd never thought I would look back on depression and see it as a positive in my life. But using the technique that I recommended earlier, I guess it is. And I'm looking upon that as the biggest learning experience I'll probably ever have to face, because the stuff that I went through I can't go into details on camera because it'd just be unprivate, but it was horrific, and I think this is the same for any situation, whether you've got depression through physical conditions, like maybe you've become disabled or something like that, and you become really depressed as a result because you can't do things, or whether it's another breakup like one of the things that triggered mine, or something like that. If you've got depression, use it, go through it, experience it, but for heaven's sake, don't kill yourself, because I had flickering thoughts of that sort of thing. Nothing ever properly serious, but if I'm anything to go by, and if I could get over it, knowing how I felt back then I know that you can as well. And this is whether you're a depression sufferer or not, whether you're just someone who's feeling a bit down about themselves at this moment. You can do it, and you can pull through. You can change the way that you feel. You can get in control of your own emotions. Yeah, use some of the techniques I used if you want to try them. You've got to experience these things to grow up in life and to find out about yourself. That's pretty much going to wrap this one up anyway, chaps. I hope some of you found it useful. It probably won't be one of my most watched videos, but if you feel like there's someone that you know that maybe isn't feeling like themselves at the moment, maybe you know someone who's got depression, and you want to know how they can use their depression to their advantage, or get out of depression more easily, then make sure you share this video with them, because if I can help people, that's sort of what my channel is really about. It's about helping men mainly, but the same stuff for this video applies to women, absolutely. So make sure you share it with them. If you enjoyed the video, like it. If you think that depression isn't a real thing, then dislike it, but you're just fooling yourself, because you'll experience it at some stage. And I'll see you on the next video, guys.